history of indigenous presence here in Plaine, of European presence in Plaine. And in this constituency, this part of Dominica, including Dalis and Boudica, you have a very strong tradition of the runaway slave culture and the presence in Victoria and other parts of Dalis. You were one of the major areas where the slaves went in, the runaway slaves went in, and prepared the defense and eventual emancipation of slaves across Dominica. And so how do we share this culture with not only our children, but the world, and how do we benefit from it? And I want us to promote heritage tourism much more than we're doing, not only during Independence time and say it's all part of our independence celebration, but it also must bring money to us. And I believe that we have an opportunity to make money from our heritage here in this part of Dominica. Then we have the issue of environmental tourism and sustainable tourism. I saw the exhibition today, and the wide range of products and produce that you have here that you can share with the rest of the world and promote and sell and bring the foreign exchange into Dominica. So I would like us to propel from here this evening from this Heritage Day activity and see how we can transform these things into money-making business. Because at the end of the day, we have to create sustainable employment. And we can create employment and create wealth right here in our country, in this part of Dominica, and of course, Dominica as a whole. And I want to say to us as a country that we have to safeguard our traditional culture. Yes, culture is an evolving phenomenon, but we must never forget our history. We must never forget the foundation of our definition, the traditional dances, our language. We must not let these things die. Because even if we have the new aspects of culture, they will not be as enriched as they are now without an infusion of the foundation of our history in Dominica. And it's important for us to be able to share that history with our children at school and the wider community and, of course, the rest of the world. And so we're very happy to be here. For me, this is Independence time is the most exciting time for me personally. I believe in culture. I believe in promoting the traditional culture. And, you know, I said on the radio today, every time I hear, you know, the Jingpim and so forth, it's almost testing me to come out of retirement and come into national competition dancing across Dominica. But I dance in many parts of Dominica in competitions, cultural competitions, whether it's quadrille or heel and toe. I participate Mazuk. I can dance there's some dances. And maybe I might work with the cultural division to teach it across Dominica so that we can pass it on to succeeding generations. So sign me up. Sign me up on this. But it's important for us to know the culture, know the history of Dominica, know ourselves as a history. So I'm so happy to be here. This is a wonderful spirit, and this is what we must promote in our culture, a spirit of togetherness, a spirit of unity. We will never all agree on everything, but for Christ's sake, there must be some things we all agree upon. And I think we have to work on this, because we spend too much of our God-given talent and energy to fight each other or to create division, when we could put this God-given energy to solve problems. And I always say to people, God put us on earth not to lament on problems, but to solve problems. And what is all going to be our contribution? Because in the book of Matthew, he's going to ask us, what have we done? Done. You know what did you say? You know how we spoke? What did you do? And the question is, how are we going to answer this question when the question is posed to us? What have we done? And part of the doing is unity and speaking a language of peace and togetherness, recognizing that this is our country. And we cannot only appear to come together when we're in difficult times. We must come together at all times, because it is written that we must be our brother's keeper. And the Bible never said it in difficult times. We must be our brother's keeper at all material times on earth. So congratulations to not only the people of Plaine, but the entire southeast of Dominica. There is no country in the world, and we say so not of boast, but through humility. There is no country in the world that celebrates its independence in the manner in which Dominica does. There's none. And so it is a tradition that we must hold strong to. We must hold on to, because this is what defines us. And so my final point of reminding us, let us see how we can make money out of our culture. Let us see how we can make money out of our heritage. Let us see how we can make money and jobs through sustainable tourism and environmental tourism. All the best to you. God bless. I look forward to the performances. And if anybody from any of the groups did not make it this afternoon, I am here to join. So I'll wait and see if anybody show up. If anybody falls short, then I will certainly join in any of the cultural activities, whether it's ballet or. I mean, if you want me to sing a part of a song, I can sing a part of a song. You know. So, thank you very much. God bless.
Thank you, Honorable Prime Minister. And I think be on standby because we might just call you to do something. We are moving to the awards ceremony, and I would like to invite Mr. Elton Matthew, the Chief Cultural Officer, to do the citations.
Pleasant good afternoon, everybody. At this juncture, we come to the most exciting part of the Heritage Day ceremony, and we're going to recognize a few people from the community, and following that, we recognize the cultural elder. We have the sashing of the cultural elder. So, we would like to call on Mr. Hartman Coffey, who's been recognized for his contribution to the community of Plaine in terms of entrepreneurship and small business. He will receive a plaque. And we call on the Honorable Prime Minister to present the award to the recipient, please. Let's give him a round of applause, please. Second of 3 awards goes to Mr. Biko Williams for his contribution to sports. The final special award goes to Chaucer Baron for his contribution to farming, and a representative will pick up the award on his behalf. Let's give a round of applause, please, and thank you, Honorable Prime Minister. And I now call forward the cultural elder, Mrs. Hilda Inda Prosper. would also like to invite Her Excellency to the stage to present the award. Hilda Prosper, better known as Inda, was born on the 29th of October 1944 in Balisier, La Plaine, to Mr. Chasnet and Beldrina or Matopi Euseb. She was the fifth of 9 children and enjoyed a typical La Plaine childhood with days at the river and going to the farm with her parents. It was there that her love for agriculture and traditional farming began and blossomed into a lifelong career as a farmer. She attended the La Plaine Primary School, which we now know as the Jones Bopier Primary School. She spent a few of her teenage years in Guadeloupe and returned to La Plaine. On November 3rd, 1966, she married Mr. Bethelme Prosper, and together they had 5 children. Providing for her family was of utmost importance, a role which gave her much joy, both as a mother and as a wife. Caring for her family and farming defined her daily activities, and the cultural practice of kudme was often employed to accomplish her farming tasks. Mrs. Prosper is an industrious woman who believes that once you set your mind to something, it can be achieved, no matter the situation. A motto she instilled in her children and one that she carried with her through life, which is why it was never a burden when she walked from house to house in La Plaine from 6 a.m. to sell her produce to the villagers. On weekends, Inda would put down her boots and cutlass and don sportswear and a rounder's bat as a rounder's player, and would also serve as the cook for the Cavaliers cricket team. It should be mentioned that one of the best tasting callalus and tortor meals you can find in La Plaine came from the house of Mrs. Hilda Inda Prosper. Apart from sports, Mrs. Prosper had a love for Dominica's traditional culture, in particular ballet, which she learned from her mom, who she accompanied to dances. For several years, she was the leader and chatwell of the La Plaine Ballet Group, which participated in cultural competitions in the Southeast. She was also an able helper to her husband, who participated in court competitions. Being a member of the Social League, an active member of the La Plaine Catholic Church, and one of the community leaders on National Day of Community Service, both as a cook and assisting in the cleanup efforts, Mrs. Prosper has done it all, with a heart full of love for her family and community. It can be said that she is a mother to all in the community, as she never shied away from participating, imparting knowledge, and being a constant presence in the community life in La Plaine. The Ministry of Culture, Youth Sports and Community Development, the Cultural Division, and the Heritage Day Planning Committee joined the entire La Plaine community in congratulating Mrs. Hilda Inda Prosper on being the recipient of the honorable title of Cultural Elder 2024. We all wish you God's richest blessings. So we have the sashing of the elder, and she will also be presented with a plaque, trophy, certificate, and an envelope. Ladies and gentlemen, Cultural Elder 2024, Mrs. Hilda Prosper.
Thank you, Mr. Matthew. Let's give Mrs. Prosper a round of applause. I'm not done on the program to give any speeches. I'm not going to give a speech, but I must extend my personal congratulations to Mrs. Hilda Prosper. Mrs. Hilda Prosper is my godmother, and congratulations, Nenin. I would like to invite Ms. Wabduet to do presentation of bouquets and fruit baskets. The first one to Her Excellency Sylvanie Burton. We'll take it to her. We're taking it to her, yes. We have a fruit basket to Mr. Burton. And we have a bouquet to Mrs. Skerritt. Thank you to Ms. Wabduet. So we now move on to the cultural presentations. And so my job is ended, and I hand over to Mrs. Milia Joseph Dennis. That's the Creole lady. I can't speak Creole. I'll hand over to Mrs. Joseph to do that.
Bienvenue tout le monde. Si Radio DBS nous live en La Plaine. Ça c'est l'école primary La Plaine qui a mené journée héritage en La Plaine. Et nous bien contents qui nous là live quand on est en place. Et moi savent ou peut-être qu'à garder assis internet. Nous savons, messieurs, mesdames. OK, nous allons
Let me just take this opportunity, of course, to congratulate Mrs. Prosper for being sashed as the cultural elder. I'm just speaking it just to let the folks get ready, because it's all about the presentation of the cultural gala here this afternoon as we observe Heritage Day here in this beautiful community.